just get started a little bit here and share with you all that I have been listening to the last several days. There's been a global summit on the teachings of the Dalai Lama. And many folks who have had a long time affiliation with him have been alternating in giving talks and guided meditations on his teachings. And it's really been a lovely teaching to listen. I haven't heard all of the talks and guided meditations, but some of them. And I was a little bit split about what to talk about today because there were so many of those teachings I wanted to share with you. But last week we had such a wonderful, quiet meditation that people seem to enjoy quite a bit. So I've opted for one of the meditations. But I'll save some of the teachings. The person that I really enjoyed listening to is who has been the Dalai Lama's translator for many, many years. And I had the opportunity to see the Dalai Lama from a great distance as part of a large crowd. Tumten Jinpa, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, was his translator. And he gave two talks that I heard at this summit, teaching what the Dalai Lama taught. And just a few words, the Dalai Lama, for many of you know this, he says his religion is kindness. That he says that we should be kind whenever possible. And then he says, it's always possible. And when I thought about putting that in practice for myself, I thought, it's not always possible for me. But what I could do is kind of make a mental note of when I have been kind and to feel the effects of having been kind, of having been compassionate. Not just on the other, but a lot on myself, how it becomes a kind of shared joy. And so I offer that to you, either his teaching of be kind whenever possible, that perhaps for the Dalai Lama, it's always possible. Maybe for some of you, it's always possible. And I thought for myself, well, one of the ways I might practice kindness is to really make a mental note of when I have been kind and how impactful that's been on my experience. And I'm just going to silence my notifications here. So I have quite a bit that I could relay to you about the teachings, but instead I decided to go with a meditation that I heard from a psychologist as part of this summit, people that translated his teachings, from Lisa, trying to get my New York accent out of that, Lisa Miller. She's a psychologist that heads up the psychology department at Columbia University. And she gave a lovely, lovely talk that started with a guided meditation. So like some of these other psychologists, she has a lab and she's really beginning to try to research and test the effectiveness of kindness, happiness. As many of you know, the idea that, as Dalai Lama says, everybody just wants to be happy, no matter how averse their behavior is. And that happiness isn't a kind of ecstatic happiness. It's more a sense of balance and satisfaction, contentment. ease. And so he talks a lot about compassion, being compassionate. And of course, if you've been around any teachings on Buddhism, you've probably heard many times the teaching that the Buddhism is there's two wings to this practice. The first is, well, they're equal, not one or and then two, but the wing of compassion and the wing of wisdom. And it's pictured, the metaphor is like it's two wings of a bird, that the bird can't fly with just one wing. We need both wings. We need to be both compassionate and wise. Right? I think really as I begin to practice more and more, one comes with the other. They naturally co-occur. So I wanted to share with you a guided meditation that I heard from Dr. Lisa Miller that I found particularly useful and new to me. So I'd like to share that. So please take your meditation seats, whatever they may be. And as I always like to say, notice what it's like to have this intention to sit, to meditate. Perhaps the familiarity you find in your body, in your heart, and in your mind as you sit to practice. The beauty in showing up, to be present, to cultivate wisdom and compassion. And as I also always like to start, being aware that there is a body. And there is a body sitting. It's very simple, direct knowing. There is a body breathing. So that we can begin to feel the body from the inside. So let's begin by taking 5 deeper breaths. Really letting yourself feel these deeper breaths on the inside. Maybe in the chest or the diaphragm or in the belly. If you like, what you might think of as an inner chamber. And using some imagery here, I invite you to set a table, your table. You may have a picture of a table that comes to mind. And invite anyone, living or deceased, who truly has your best interests in mind. Imagining yourself sitting at the table. Anyone living or deceased. Can be figures you've had no personal contact with, but like the Dalai Lama, some spiritual guide. Sitting at the table with those people or even pets who have truly loved you. And with them all sitting there, ask them if they love you. If they truly love you. Being as receptive as you can to their responses. Allowing yourself to feel this love and these good wishes deeply. And now, invite your higher self, that part of you that is so much more than what you've done or not done, that's so much more than what you have or may not have. Jack Cornfield's teacher, Ajahn Chah, calls it the one who knows. That's deep inside of us. Your true, eternal, higher self. And ask you if you love you. Taking your time with this. And now finally, you might invite your higher power, perhaps what you consider a higher power, God, the universe, nature, spirit, source, the Buddha, whatever might be a sense of higher power. And ask them if they love you. For some of us, this might mean someone that sees us as we truly are, our goodness or wholesomeness, our heartfulness. These beings now, those that see your goodness, that have their best wishes for you, yourself, caring for yourself, loving yourself, some sense of a higher, larger power. Imagining all together. This is your counsel. This is your counsel. And this counsel, all these beings and powers, forces, are always there for you. Others may show up on your road of life. And you are free to ask your counsel, whatever is in your heart at that moment or on your journey. Allowing yourself to believe this counsel, this group, this force is always there for you, always accessible. know you well and want the best for you. That love you just as you are. Maya Angelou has said, love is not a feeling, it's a force. When we see things clearly, love is the natural response. What we're doing here together right now, according to Dr. Lisa Miller, is we're engaging our innate capacity, that capacity that's always there for a transcendent relationship, for what she calls our awakened brain, with those who truly have our best interests in mind. Our highest or wisest and most compassionate self. That every single one of us has this birthright. It can never be taken away. I invite you to remember this as your innate capacity, who you truly are from the inside. Embodied, experienced, felt. Breathed. when we see things clearly, love is the natural response. Going back now to any part of this guided meditation, remembering any part, bringing back to mind a table of beings that have your best interests at heart. Asking if they love you. And from your best self, a sense of wholesome self, asking yourself if you love you. Breathing with it, receptive. And whatever power or force that's greater than any being, is that power loving you, supporting you. Walks in nature, community. If you have a God, when whatever that might be. This is your counsel. You're part of it. Your innate capacity. And if it's in your practice to bring your palms together in front of your chest, starting with appreciating your own efforts at showing up, your wish to find some more steadiness, some more ease, perhaps tranquility, brightening the mind, brightening the heart, cultivating wisdom and compassion. Cultivating wisdom and compassion experientially, knowing the truth of who you really are and the truth of who all beings really are. All of us have this capacity to cultivate more wisdom and compassion. Our natural capacity, our natural wish to care. How much we love to care. And then whenever you're ready, please feel free to lower your hands. Let yourself move and stretch as you might need to.